Hi, Shorrock.
Oh yeah, hi everyone. So I'm a research associate at the University of Central Lancashire, also known as UCLan. And my kind of research is around multi-agency collaboration around protecting vulnerable individuals. And as we mentioned, the term vulnerable, what do we mean by that term? And specifically for me, my PhD research and sort of my current research is looking at multi-agency safeguarding hubs, also known as MASHs, that operate in England and in Wales. So initially, my PhD research was to do sort of a nice shiny review of a local MASH in my local area. However, coming into that, one of the key things is when I was started to interview sort of police officers and health practitioners and social care practitioners, it was actually, well, what is a MASH? Yes, we're working together, but in what capacity are we working together? Again, the conversations we've been having around vulnerability, and it was often a term interchangeable with risk. So what the police see as risky and the person being vulnerable often differed to what maybe the health services would perceive and what the social services would perceive. And so that was sort of where my PhD got up to, and that's where it sort of left off. And then following on from that, I've been trying to do sort of a best practice and trying to examine different types of MASH models, because similarly, even though there's a bit of guidance around what a MASH model should be like, what it needs to contain, which is mainly joint information sharing, co-location, and communication, that apart from those three principles, how that operates differs quite a bit across the country. And we've got some MASH systems that are operating that only look at vulnerable children, so only children that are deemed to be vulnerable, usually by a police, but in some cases it's also by social services, would get a collaborative approach. So agencies would come together, try and see, what they can do as a collective whole to support that child in, the best way. Some other frameworks only do vulnerable adults. These are a little bit less, but there is examples of just doing adults and the children aren't processed. And then in between, you've got some that have decided to do everything at once. And again, you've got to question if you've got the same practitioners looking at vulnerable children and also looking at vulnerable adults, they require a different response. And do practitioners have the knowledge of how you would deal with a vulnerable child versus a vulnerable adult? And the main difference there is the adults have the right to capacity and how decisions are made with them versus how they're made for them. So I was just in the process of doing that in January this year. I was very excited, my first bit of research after my PhD submission, and then COVID hit. And obviously we just wasn't able to go into MASH systems and things. So everything had to be put on hold. And so I was fairly gutted for quite a while. But actually it's given quite an opportunity now at the moment. So in between, I've been still in contact with the partner agencies. And one of the findings from my initial research was this idea of, do agencies need to be physically co-located? So do they need to be in a building in order to make effective decision-making processes? Or actually, can you still be remote and, you contribute via video conferencing, you just come into the office one day a week? And obviously,
sorry. That's your 3 minutes now, thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to say that, through the COVID now, we're looking at the differences between remote working and actually physical location.